September 5, 1982. A 12-year-old boy delivers newspapers on his Sunday route in West Des Moines, Iowa. He was seen talking to a man in a blue car. He was never seen again. 40 years later, his mother still searches for answers. This is the Johnny Gosch case. Welcome to the channel. Johnny Gosch was 12 years old in September 1982. He was a typical kid, an older brother, a paperboy, someone who loved baseball cards and comic books. His mother, Noreen Gosch, described him as responsible beyond his years, mature enough to handle a newspaper route by himself. That Sunday morning, Johnny kissed his mother goodbye and headed out to deliver the Des Moines Register. It was supposed to be a routine morning. What happened next would tear a family apart forever. Why did a 12-year-old boy disappear without leaving a single trace? Witnesses placed Johnny on his route that morning. A neighbor named Mike saw Johnny talking to a man in a blue car with Nebraska license plates. The man was in his late 30s or early 40s with red or brown hair. Johnny was seen getting into that car, and then he was gone. Yet one detail doesn't fit. If this man was a stranger, why would Johnny willingly get into his car? If this detail is true, then Johnny knew this person. Who was the man in the blue car? By early afternoon, Noreen Gosch knew something was wrong. Johnny should have been home hours ago. She called his friends. She drove his route. She searched everywhere. The police initially treated it as a runaway case, not unusual for a 12-year-old. But Noreen knew her son. Johnny wasn't a runaway. He would have called. He would have found a way home. And that's where it gets strange. Within days, tips flooded in about a blue car, about a man seen with a boy, about something terrible witnessed that Sunday morning. But no one could find Johnny. Where had he really gone? As the investigation expanded, so did the leads. The FBI became involved. Tips came in from across the country. A man in Nebraska was questioned but had an alibi. The blue car was never found. Detectives followed hundreds of leads. They searched abandoned buildings, investigated registered sex offenders, chased every rumor. Yet despite the massive effort, no concrete evidence of Johnny's fate ever emerged. And that's where it gets strange. How can a child simply vanish without leaving a single piece of evidence behind? Noreen and John Gosch refused to accept that their son would simply disappear. They became advocates for missing children, lobbying Congress for better Amber Alert systems and missing persons databases. They appeared on television shows, distributed flyers, never stopped searching. But as the years passed, the case grew colder. Leads dried up. Media attention faded. And the Gosches were left with nothing but questions and an empty bedroom upstairs. What happens to a family when the world moves on, but their pain remains? In 1984, 2 years after Johnny disappeared, Noreen Gosch received a letter. It contained a photograph of a young boy who looked remarkably like Johnny. The letter claimed the boy was being held in a basement, forced to participate in a child sex ring. It named names, prominent individuals allegedly involved in a massive conspiracy. Noreen took the letter to the FBI. Yet one detail doesn't fit. The letter named high-profile individuals connected to a major financial scandal. If this detail is true, then Johnny's disappearance was part of something much larger. What was really happening in Des Moines in 1982? In 1988, a convicted sex offender named Paul Bonacci came forward with a shocking story. Bonacci claimed he had been forced to participate in a child sex ring operating across multiple states. He named Johnny Gosch as a victim. He described watching Johnny being abused, being auctioned to wealthy clients, being branded with tattoos. Bonacci's testimony connected the Gosch case to the Franklin Community Credit Union scandal, a massive financial fraud investigation that had uncovered evidence of political corruption and child exploitation. Yet one detail doesn't fit. Bonacci had mental health issues, and his story contained inconsistencies. Was he a witness or a fantasist? Pause. Think about that. Who would make up such a story? The Franklin Community Credit Union scandal erupted in Nebraska in the late 1980s. It exposed a massive operation involving money laundering, political corruption, and most disturbingly, allegations of organized child sexual abuse. Some investigators believed Bonacci's claims tied directly to this network, that Johnny Gosch was a victim of a powerful, connected conspiracy. Yet here is the problem. Authorities were never able to prove Johnny was ever in Nebraska. No physical evidence linked him to the locations Bonacci described. The connection remained speculative. What happened to Johnny Gosch in those first hours after he vanished? Noreen Gosch never stopped fighting. She wrote books, gave interviews, testified before Congress. She pushed for the Amber Alert system, for better missing children databases, for laws that would help families find their vanished children. She became a voice for thousands of other missing children. But privately, she carried the weight of not knowing. Was Johnny alive? Was he dead? Did he suffer? Yet one detail doesn't fit in interviews. Noreen stated she believed the letters were authentic, that she recognized her son's handwriting. If this detail is true, then Johnny was alive for years after his disappearance. Why couldn't anyone find him? In 1995, another letter arrived. This one was different. It claimed Johnny Gosch was dead. It described his death, his burial location, and named those responsible. Noreen gave the letter to investigators. They searched the described location. They found nothing. The letter's claims could not be verified. It was either a cruel hoax or a confession. And that's where it gets strange. Over the years, multiple letters arrived, each with different claims, different details, different fates for Johnny. Which one, if any, was true? Who was sending these letters? From the 1990s to the 2010s, the Johnny Gosch case entered a long period of silence. Tips still came in occasionally, but few led anywhere. The investigators who had worked the case retired. The witnesses who had seen Johnny on his route grew older. The blue car was never definitively identified. And Noreen Gosch grew older too, still waiting, still searching, still hoping for answers that never came. Yet one detail doesn't fit. Some witnesses later came forward claiming they had seen Johnny years after his disappearance, that he was alive and had spoken to them. If this detail is true, then someone knows where he is, who has been hiding the truth. In 2014, a documentary titled Who Took Johnny brought renewed attention to the case. It explored the theories, the blue car, Paul Bonacci's testimony, the Franklin scandal connection. It gave Noreen Gosch a platform to tell her story to a new generation. The film raised questions that had never been fully answered. It reminded the public that Johnny Gosch was still missing. Yet one detail doesn't fit, decades after the film. New generations learned about the case, but still no concrete answers emerged. What is keeping the truth hidden? In 2022, the 40th anniversary of Johnny Gosch's disappearance came and went. Noreen Gosch marked the day as she always had, with a memorial service, with remembrance, with a renewed call for information. The case remained officially open. New investigators had taken over. New techniques for analyzing old evidence had been developed. DNA technology had advanced beyond what was available in 1982. Yet despite these advances, no breakthrough came. And that's where it gets strange. We can solve cold cases with DNA today, but without a body or confirmed DNA sample, what can technology really reveal? 4 decades have produced countless theories. Some believe Johnny was kidnapped by a lone predator, sold into a trafficking network, and died years later. Others believe the conspiracy claims that powerful individuals took Johnny as part of an organized operation connected to the Franklin scandal. Some think Noreen herself was involved, though there's no evidence to support this. Yet one detail doesn't fit. Why, if it was a simple kidnapping, did no one ever come forward with concrete evidence after all these years? If this detail is true, then the truth is being protected by powerful forces. What are they protecting? Johnny Gosch was 12 years old when he disappeared on a September morning in 1982. His mother has spent 40 years searching for answers. She has received letters, witnessed testimony, and endured theories. Yet the fundamental question remains unanswered. What happened to Johnny Gosch? Was he taken by a stranger in a blue car, sold into a network, killed, and buried? Or is the truth even more disturbing than any of these theories? Someone knows. Someone has always known. The man in the blue car, the people who received the letters, the witnesses who saw things they didn't report. 40 years of silence, 40 years of questions. Will Johnny Gosch ever come home? If you have any information about Johnny Gosch's disappearance, please contact the Des Moines Police Department or the FBI. Even the smallest detail could bring closure to the Gosch family after 40 years of searching. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more true crime investigations. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this video.